Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to February and to this month's live stream. Just checking the audio. It's weird hearing myself, I have to say, doing these live streams, but it sounds like we are good. I'm gonna mute myself so I don't get too distracted. But yeah, welcome to this month's live stream. So we have 5 plugins that you can use for After Effects completely for free. I use these all the time, in motion design work just to speed up, my workflow. A lot of these are very good at just speeding up, shortcuts and different things. So let's dive in with number 1 on this live streams list, and I'll share my screen. All right, so I have After Effects open. I'm just going to bring up Safari. Number 1 on the list of plugins that I use all the time is Effects Console by Video Copilot. And if you want to download these plugins to use in your own workflow, the links are down in the video description. Feel free to go check them out, download them. But when you land on the site, you just scroll down here, and there should be a download button for Windows and for Apple Mac as well. So feel free to go and check that out if you not already have this. What Effects Console is excuse me, it's a very handy plugin. It's basic, but it saves you a lot of time. What it does is you can use it to apply effects to layers inside After Effects very quickly with just a few keyboard shortcuts. So I'll show you how this works. I'll go back into After Effects. When you install it, I'll just drag something to my composition here. We'll scale it down a little bit. So say you have this layer, maybe I want to change the color of it. Maybe I want to add a fill effect to it, maybe make it red or blue or something, and I want to add that effect. Normally without the plugin, you'd have to go up to Effects and Presets, type in maybe fill. It'll narrow down the search. You scroll down, click on it, double click it to add it to the layer. And then you have the fill effect, or otherwise you can go up to effect, and then, wow, I have a lot of Artlist plugins installed. It's been a while since I've been in After Effects here on my personal computer. But I can't remember which one. It's under Generate. So, navigating these menus sometimes can be a little difficult to try to find and apply the effect that you need to your layer, but this plugin makes it really quick and easy to apply effects to layers inside After Effects. So to show you how it works based on a keyboard shortcut. So you click on the layer in the composition panel, you can hold down Control Space on a Mac, and you'll notice that a menu pops up, and basically a search bar pops up, and what you can do is actually type in the effect that you want to apply to the layer. So in this case, I'm going to go to Fill, and then you can click on that, and then it automatically applies it. Now, this is great, but it can actually get a little bit better. You can actually customize, the effects that you use most often inside After Effects and actually create shortcuts that you can add to this plugin. So to show you how that works, I'm going to delete that, go back here, and we'll hit Control Space again. You'll notice that there's a little gear icon next to the Video Copilot logo. If you click on it, it brings up the favorites menu and different UI controls that you can actually set up. If you wanted to change it to light, we'll leave it on dark. And also you can change the shortcut to actually bring up. Right now I have Control Space, but you can actually change this if you want a different, shortcut to actually bring up Effects Console. But what you'll notice here under shortcuts is that there's a new button next to 1 through 9. And what this does is once you hit that shortcut of Control Space, you can hit the keyboard, the number 1 or 2, and it'll automatically apply the effect that you assign to that number to your layer inside After Effects. So for example here, maybe I want number 1 to be the fill effect. So I can just type in fill, click on it, and now number 1 is going to apply the fill effect. And you can assign all of these, such as curves, And you can really customize this to, the top effects that you use all the time. Like I use curves, drop shadow. What's another one? Maybe glow, hue and saturation. Whatever ones that you use most often inside After Effects, you can apply it here. So just to show you how this works, I have 5 different, effects here. I'll click OK. And now when we click on the layer and we hit Control Space, you'll notice that we have these little filled in icons at the bottom of the search bar here. You can actually click on it, or you can click like, 1, and it will actually apply that effect to the actual layer. I'll bring up my keycaster so you can see my keyboard strokes as I hit numbers and stuff. But you can imagine if you want to apply a lot of effects very quickly to this clip, if you wanted to apply all of them, you could do Control Space 1, Control Space 2, Control Space 3, and now you have a bunch of these effects already applied to this layer very quickly. So, I use this all the time, and pretty much any time I use After Effects, really just to apply effects to the layers inside After Effects. But yeah, that's Effects Console. It's very simple, but it's a very handy tool, and Video Copilot is generous to make it affordable for all of us, and it's completely free. So that is number 1 on the list of the top free plugins to use inside After Effects. Alright, so let's go on to the next one. And the next 2 are pretty handy, especially for motion graphics, or just to speed up your animation workflow a lot inside After Effects. I use these a lot, if I need to make, text animations or add different elements to my, compositions or projects. So these will be handy just to have in your back pocket, to speed up your workflow and animating text and different things. So let's take a look at what we have here for number 2 on our list. Alright, so the first one I'm going to talk about is called Mr. Horse's Animation Composer. This is a very handy plugin. I shouldn't say it's a plugin, it's more of an extension. It comes in its own menu like window, but once you go to the website, you can see it here, Animation Composer 3. And if you've been following my channel for a while, this was one of the first videos I actually made reviewing how to use Animation Composer, like back in like 2020. But once you go to the website, you can click watch a video, download for Mac or download for Windows. But once you download it, it comes in like a menu like this that you can actually add, and you can go in and use it in its interface. So I'm going to show you how it looks inside After Effects here. I'm going to just drag back out my logo here, size it down, just so we have something to play with. But yeah, if you go to Window, this is where it's going to be after you actually install the plugin. Now, there's 4 different ones to actually choose from. There's Animation Composer 3, which is the main menu. When you click on this, you'll notice that there's starter packs under preset here. This is the main area where you can go to actually add, animations to your logos, shape layers, different layers, or even text layers. And it's segmented by 3D layer and 2D layer. And then you can actually add pre-comps to your composition, such as like overlays, shape elements, social media, text boxes, and then transitions between your layers. And then it also comes with sound effects. To be honest, I don't use the sound effects. I don't really use sounds in After Effects that much. If I'm gonna sound design something, usually it's like afterwards I'll render it out or something and then add sound to it, maybe in Premiere Pro. But that's the starter packs that you can get. Now obviously you can purchase more packs from Animation Composer or Mr. Horse, but this is the free starter pack version, and this is the menu for that. Now you'll notice that under Window there's the key, the anchor point mover, which is very helpful to move the anchor point of a layer. So for example here, if we bring this up, this is the menu to actually move the anchor point. So by default, when you create or drag, a logo to your After Effects composition, it's usually in the center. But say, maybe we want, to animate the scale of this layer, and we want it to come up from the bottom. What you can do is actually click this down arrow, and it will actually move the anchor point to the bottom. And now when we actually, animate the scale position, it's coming from the bottom. Or maybe we don't want that. Maybe we want from the top left of the layer. You can do top left just by clicking that arrow, and you'll notice that it actually moves it. And now when we change the scale, it animates from the top left corner. Now it's important to note you can actually just move the anchor point, manually by clicking the pan behind tool. And you can click and drag this around. You can actually change it manually to different positions. But what's nice about the anchor point plugin here or extension, it actually snaps to the corners. Where trying to actually move it using the pan from behind tool might not be as accurate as actually, just clicking this, and you don't really have to worry about it. It's pinned to the corners or the center. So that's really nice. And also if it's keyframed, you have an option to, modify it, insert keyframe at playhead, or modify existing keyframes. If you guys ever, animated text before or something, or maybe a shape layer, and the anchor point is like, in a weird position, it's not in the center, and then you animate like scale or position and it's coming from a weird angle, that's kind of like where you would use that setting. But that's the anchor point. I use that a lot, just to realign the layer inside After Effects. You have the keyframe wingman, which is very helpful. And to show you how that works, I'm just going to animate maybe the scale of this text or this logo here. I'll just go out to 1 second. Make a keyframe by clicking the diamond. Go back to the beginning. I'll change the value to 0. So right now we have this, and it's very linear. You can click on this, maybe right click, add, ease in. So it eases into the keyframe a little bit. But sometimes using the graph editor can be a little tricky here, to actually, move this around, trying to understand what this does. This helps out, with easing a little bit. What you can do is actually just slide this, and it actually, changes the way that it eases. So it's it takes easing a little bit more simplified, where you can, edit your ease a little bit more. That eases in a little bit more, and then that kind of does a little bit of a different ease to it. So you can play with these settings. And the wingman, one important note about this is that you can uncheck this, and this does different things on both sides. So for example, this is the ease out, I think, and this is the ease in. If we go the other way. So this does different things. That's ease in, and then the other way is ease out. So it's kind of like a different way to actually ease your keyframes, which can be very helpful if you're, you don't like going into the graph editor and really fine-tuning your, easing in there. The wingman helps you out, for easing. So that's the wingman. Pretty basic, but it can be handy. And then there's the transition shifter. To showcase this, I'm going to actually go into the other menu first, and we'll come back to this because I kind of want to create some things, create some animations, and then I'll show you how the shifter works, which basically use that menu if you want to shift over how the animation is. It's very helpful for doing that. But let's actually dive into the animation composer and actually see how the different things that come in the starter pack. So what I'm going to do now actually is I'm going to click on this layer. I'm just going to reset the scale parameter. So basically it's starting at 30. So that's our logo. It's not moving at all. And I'm going to demo some of the Animation Composer, different things in the starter pack here. Just going to move this over. Rearrange some of my windows here so you guys can see. There we go. All right, so under Starter Pack, there is the Transitions 2D layer. So this works for 2D layers. And obviously, you click the down arrow, you can see the different ones, and you can see, a preview here in the far right side. So for example, say if we wanted this one, what you do is just click on it, and you'll notice you have a few different options in the bottom right of the plugin. There's in, out, and both. In will just apply the animation to the very beginning of the layer. Out will just add that to the very end, and then both will actually add, the animation in and out. So for both sides of the layer. For this example, I'm just going to do in. So I'm going to click in. Actually, you have to click on your layer first in the timeline panel, and then click in, and then it will add it. You'll notice a few things happen here. Now, obviously, in the Animation Composer menu, it'll put you into this menu where you can actually make some changes to the actual animation. But what you'll notice also here is that the controls are also added into effects controls, and then down in the layer itself, if you untwirl effects, you'll notice that it actually added a new effect to it, and that there's a transition in marker added to your layer. And what this does, this basically controls the length of the actual animation. So you can actually click and drag this out, say if you wanted this animation longer. We play it back, you'll notice that it takes longer to animate in, and say if we wanted it a lot faster, you can just click and drag this marker to the left, and it'll be a lot faster. So that's how that marker works. That basically is, the length of the animation. Now we have the transition shifter, so we'll go over here. What this does, it shifts over the actual, animation. So you'll notice when I click the right arrow, it's actually shifting the layer over by 1 frame. Or you can click and drag this to actually just move the actual layer. So that's what the shifter does. It kind of shifts over the animation in your layer essentially. Now what is nice about this menu is that, say if you're working on a project and you're like, this logo, I want it to actually, I actually want it to come in at 5 seconds here, or maybe 4 seconds, 29 frames, a very specific moment. You can click and drag, but what you can do is in the shifter menu, you can actually align at playhead, which is very helpful. You can just click that, and it will just click and snap that layer to the beginning of your playhead there. So this is very handy if you want animations to happen at certain times. You can just go to that point, click that button, and it'll actually snap that layer to that moment, in time. So that can be very handy. And then the stagger menu, which is really cool. To showcase that, what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to push this to the beginning here, and say if we had several of these layers, right? Maybe I duplicate this a few times. We'll just push these out a little bit. Bring up scale for all of them. Maybe size them down a little bit. Here we go. So maybe I have maybe a step and repeat type of thing going on, maybe several logos, and maybe I want to, stagger these. What you can do is select them. You can stagger them by a number of frames here. So maybe by 12 frames, and then the order, so ascending order, and then it will actually stagger them by 12 frames. So it does it like that. Or say if you want it the other way, descending order, you can change it to descending, and then click do, and it'll actually do it in descending order. So from top to bottom. Actually, I have my layers out of order. So like say if, the top one's top one, and then maybe put this one in the middle here, then it'll do that, and then that. So your layer order still matters, but this can help you really stagger your animations out. What is cool, they do have a random one, which is nice. If you just have a bunch of, maybe several different logos or layers, you can just click on random, click do, it'll kind of just randomize the thing. Now, what's interesting about that is it didn't really do 12 frames between each one. So you'll notice like these bottom two came in not really 12 frames after each other, but it's just kind of a randomized type of approach there. So that's the transition shifter. That's how that function works inside Animation Composer. Now let's go back into the actual other animations inside Animation Composer, see what else is in this starter pack. Just kind of reset this. I'll also delete the effect here. I'll just delete this marker as well. Actually, I'll just delete the layer just to reset it and drag back in a fresh new layer. So that way I don't mess up anything. Because when you apply a transition, it applies like code and like expressions inside the layer. So sometimes it's just better just to kind of reset everything. All right, let's go back in the menu here. Under Starter Presets, we were inside the 2D layer. So there's a lot of cool, animations, the bounce. What's interesting about, Animation Composer, they do have a lot of, when you look at their animations, sometimes they have a lot of overshoot, which is sometimes difficult to animate by hand. Because you have to add some anticipation or overshoot to your animation. Inside the graph editor, you'd have to actually pull up the handlebar so it kind of goes in and down. Where here you can add, overshoot or anticipation to your layers automatically very easily by just clicking this button, and it does it for you. You can see how it kind of goes up and then back down again inside the animation. So, trying to do that from hand might take a little bit of time, and this just kind of helps speed up that process a little bit. So that's why I like just having this in my back pocket, just in case if I need to create something really quick that, has overshoot, this can come in handy. Same thing like that, it kind of comes in and it kind of does like a ping pong type of animation. Now, obviously, it really depends on the project you're working on, but, the overshoots are nice to have. So that's the 2D layer. And then obviously 3D, what you want to do before you go into the 3D layer, you want to make sure that you just change your layer down in the composition panel here to a 3D layer by just checking that 3D box or the 3D marker there. You can untwirl this. The same thing basically is different animations, very similar to 2D. It just uses the 3D axis as well, the Z axis in its animations. So, you can just click on it and do N, and it'll apply it to that. So, it just did that in a matter of seconds. It just automatically did that. So that's nice to have. Like I said earlier, these are really nice to have, if you need to animate something really quickly, something that looks really good. This is really nice to have on standby. And then this is like slower, which is more probably my speed. A lot of these are a little crazy, like this one. That's pretty radical. So, but it's nice that you have some of these options here if you want to do something. So that's the 3D section. Next, there's the text transitions. And to be honest, I use text transitions a lot. Trying to work with animators can be kind of time consuming. Inside After Effects, they actually animate different characters and stuff. So the text section is definitely one to check out. So to just demo this, I'm going to grab my type tool, I'm going to click in the composition panel, and we'll just type out something. And obviously I gotta click on the layer here, change the color to something that's not black. Change it to center. If you hold down Shift while you click and drag, that'll make it a lot faster. Just a quick tip there. When you're trying to like either change the parameter of something, like either in the character panel, or even say if you wanted to size this down, say if you click S, you actually size it down. If you hold down Shift, it'll go a lot quicker. So you can see you can really change the value a lot quicker here. So yeah, we'll just scale this down a little bit. Change the leading, just center it. All right, so let's check out some of these transitions here inside text. So you have 3 different categories, and the reason I did animation is cool. That way you see, the different words, different lines, and also the different characters. So under animate characters, this will animate, each character individually. I like the fade on, fade characters together. I use this a lot, just to fade in. It's a nice animation you can really do for a lot of different projects. If you just need something to animate in and out, I use this a lot. I usually do from start, which is nice. So like for in, so if you just want this to animate in, it's really nice. And very similar to the other one, the other transitions, you can just click and drag this marker, to the left or to the right to make it, longer or shorter. Gonna undo that. The overshoot's pretty cool. I do like the overshoot animations. It looks fancy, it makes it look like you did something cool. Where you just click the button. Here's overshoot scaling. Now this one's pretty cool. Overshoot scale characters. I do like this one. And just you can go in here and you can actually change, the different settings in here as well. Each time you add something, you have like an edit menu here. And then you have the ones that aren't overshoot. So if you don't want to overshoot, I use this one quite a bit, the scale characters. But yeah, feel free to check it out, experiment. And then there's lines or words. So this will animate each word individually. And this is nice if you want like a decoding effect. Or like kind of like a flicker. So I'll undo that and I'll add this one just so you can see how that looks. So that's a pretty cool animation. Now a lot of these I wouldn't use probably, but one that I do like is scale words sometimes. If you want to scale each word individually, you can click on that, click on N. It'll actually animate each word individually, which is nice. We'll do from start. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. And then the last category under text layers is animate lines. So this is very helpful if you have several lines, like paragraphs of text that you want to animate. This will actually animate each line. And I only have 2 lines here, but you can see that it animates the first line first and then the second line. So those are the 3 different categories inside Animation Composer's Transitions text layer that you can play with. I do like the decode. Might use that in a project coming up. And then under the last 2 categories here are effects. So these, they're not necessarily transitions, but they're things that just kind of, you want something to happen to a layer, you can just add this and it'll apply it to the layer. Since I'm on a text layer, I'll just go down here. So this will just, add that effect to the layer. So if we click apply, you can see it just kind of does it for the whole length of time here. This is really good for a randomizer. So it's not necessarily an in or out transition, it's just kind of a thing that adds to the whole layer. That's cool. Kind of like a wiggly fade transition there. And then obviously you have the same thing for 2D. So, say if we click and maybe drag back in my logo here, scale it down. So it'll do that for so yeah, it really comes down to just, seeing what's in each pack here and seeing which ones apply to your, project. Obviously not, a lot of these might not apply to the type of animations that you might want to be creating. This one's cool, the long shadow. I believe you can actually animate this too. So say if we go here, you can add marker, and then maybe here it finishes, we can add a marker for out, so you can actually animate this. You can even change the color of it. Oh, you click and drag here, I think, to actually make it longer or shorter here on the actual layer. And then that pushes it back in. So you just click and drag to actually add it, to actually fade it out. You can change the color of it, which is cool. Can't preview the color though, that's a little funny. You can change the angle of it, so if you wanted it to go in a different direction. But yeah, that's pretty much the 2D layer sections for Animation Composer. Now let's go under the starter pre-comps, and this is a pretty cool section. You can actually add like overlays like letterboxes to kind of like animate in or out. You can add vignettes, but the section I really like is like the shape elements. So for example, you can add this arrow here. So if you click, you can click add. Oh, you actually have to save your project first before you can actually add any pre-comp elements. Forgot about that. I'll just save in my downloads folder for now. But once you save your project, then you can click add. There it is. So yeah, just be sure that your composition is selected, and then I will add it. Then you'll notice, I'll delete my logo. You'll add an arrow, which is pretty cool. And obviously you can, change the in and out time, the duration. So it's longer or shorter. You can change the color of the arrow, different properties in here. You can skew it. One thing though, I don't think you can rotate it. That's the only thing. But I guess you can rotate the actual position here if you wanted to. So, combination of like, use the controls of the actual pre-comp, and then in here you can actually change other things as well. But, you know, they have different elements. The glitter effect, that's pretty cool. Also, if you just double click on the actual thing, it'll actually add it as well. That's a cool effect to add. It reminds me of like if you you know, if you do like a wink or something, or like you smile and then you add that like glitter to your teeth, that type of effect. That's how you do it. There's lines. That's cool if you just wanted to add lines to your, like if you're animating something going from like one thing to another, that might be helpful. Different particles. There's rectangle shapes. So if you wanted to add like, you know, maybe if I was doing a tutorial and wanted to add like, you know, a box around something, that could be very helpful. Now this reminds me, if you guys are interested, I also have like a Mogurt pack of animated elements that's completely for free on my website. Feel free to go head over there. The link is down in the video description. But you get animated elements like lines and swirlies and boxes and stuff. So feel free to check that out. That's a Mogurt pack for Premiere Pro. But it's very similar to this, where, you know, it's like a box. And I also notice you can actually choose different trim paths. So if you wanted it in a different way, you have a few different options here. And then there's the social media section. So, you know, if you're creating videos for social media, you wanted like a lower third or subscribe. If you untwirl, there's different ones. So if you're, you know, if you're, for example, since I'm on YouTube, you can click the subscribe button to remind you guys to subscribe if you like the content, and to ring the bell. So there's a lot of different social media ones you can add, you know, depending on the platform. And also, you know, if you're into motion graphics and you just need simple boxes and texts, they do have different basic animations in here that you can add to your project. So this can be very helpful. Now also, this is really good. Say if you have multi-lined text, like maybe you have to animate like a paragraph of text. This one's nice because it actually expands as you type. So for example, I was checking this out the other day here. Say if you have like a giant quote or something and you want to, you know, add like a big paragraph here. What's nice is, just to demo this, I'm just gonna copy all of that and then go to the end space, and it'll add it, and it'll automatically expand the rectangle for you, which I find really helpful. You know, if you just need to animate something, you want to add a lot to a rectangle, it'll automatically expand that rectangle for you. So that's really helpful. But yeah, that's text boxes. And then there's transitions. So these are basically pre-comps that you add over other layers or pre-comps, and it will basically create that animation or transition for you. So to demo this, what I'm going to do is actually click and drag these photos in here. I'll just trim this. And then say if we wanted this one, we can just click add. It'll import, it'll actually download, I believe. If it needs to download something, it'll actually show up in your downloads folder here. So you'll notice there's an AC footage folder with sounds and stuff. So if it needs to pull things, it'll just know that it's being added to your downloads folder. But you'll notice once it's selected here, you'll get a pre-composition with a marker. And you just want to make sure that you add that marker right at the cut point of your layers or, you know, pre-comps. So just be sure that mark is right there, and it should work. So if we play this back, yeah, wait for it to render. So it goes from the city to the sky there, kind of like a push-up effect. So, those are nice to have if you need to transition between two layers. You got a nice transition pack that you can add. And then, like I said before, there's also sound effects that you can add. Like I said, I don't really use sound effects in After Effects, but these are nice to know that they're there if you want to add them to your project. So that's Animation Composer 3. Next, let's go into the next one. So the next one is called AEJuice. If you don't know, AEJuice has a lot of different packs for After Effects, but they also have a free pack as well. Very similar to Mr. Horse's Animation Composer. There's a lot of different things that you can add, like, shape elements. But there are a few differences that I did want to go over in this video. So that's what I'm going to be covering next. So feel free to download the link down in the video description to get to AEJuice. And just to showcase it, so what the website looks like is here. Free plugin. How it works is, there's like an extension that opens up, and then there's the starter pack section. But like I said, there are other, there's sound effects, different things that you can buy for After Effects as well. They also have a Premiere Pro one, I believe, as well, that you can download. So feel free to check it out, but definitely go to the free plugin section. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. Alright, so inside After Effects, once you install the free plugin, where it will be is under Window, AEJuice. There's 3 different ones. There's AEJuice Pack Manager, very similar to Animation Composer, very similar. It pops up in a menu, and you can double click on this starter pack, and you'll be inside the starter pack. So there's liquid elements in here. Try to find a way to expand this. There we go. All right. So liquid elements is actually like, different animations that you can add over your project. So say if you wanted this one, you can double click on it, and it'll actually add it to your project. Click and drag this out of the way here. So you can see it added that element as like a pre-composition inside your project here. I think one of the biggest differences between Animation Composer and AEJuice is AEJuice has a lot of different, more like shape elements and things like that, like this, where you don't really get in Animation Composer. Here, I'll hide the bottom layers that way you can see it a little bit better here. They have more elements like this, different things that you can add on top of your project. For example, if we go down to shape elements, there's arrows, there's icons, there's like the circles here, and different things that you can add. They also have this background, which is pretty cool. And then under kinetic text, they have a few here that you can add to your project. So there it is, it's full screen. You can, to edit it, what you can do is double click on it, then double click inside the text pre-comp, and we can change this to fit. We can change it to anything we want, like John the video guy, and just be sure that it's within the text, so, or the pre-comp. So just scale it down, align it, and say if we go back out, it should update. So that's a pretty cool free, motion pack that you can add to your projects. And then they have different things like box titles. They basically have samples of the full pack, because I believe like if under kinetic typography, they only have these two, but it's a sample of like the whole pack on their website. So basically they tease you. They're like, here you go, you can have these cool things, but if you want the full pack, you have to purchase and download the full thing, which you can as well on their website. But they do have some freebie animations you can add to your project. They do have a lot of interesting UI things that you can add. Like if you're into tech, or you want to add something pretty cool over something, like this scope here is pretty cool. Just double click. And same thing, if AEJuice needs to, they'll download assets and put it into your downloads folder. So you can see it's downloading footage here. Feel free to move that, or you'll have to relink your project or your files. That's the one downside about it. Now, what's interesting, they do have this Essential Survivor kit. And one of the most popular videos on my channel is the countdown timer. And a lot of you guys did ask, like, how do you do 1,000,000, which you can't really do in the way I showed you. In this, you can actually do 1,000,000. So for anyone looking to do a number bigger than 1,000,000, this can help you out here. This free Essential Survivor kit will animate numbers to 1,000,000. Or past. I actually haven't looked at this before, so we're in this together here. So it is a slider value. So yeah, if you change the keyframe here, probably to like, maybe if you wanted to do 1,000,000 instead of 100,000,000. I typed in the same number. There we go. So now it animates from 0 to 1,000,000 with commas. I think that was a comment too, like how do you add commas? So there you go, guys. You can animate to 1,000,000. I should post this in the comments section of that video. But yeah, it has some nice animations for countdowns or count ups. I want to say, did I see percentages as well? Yeah, the percentages is nice too. You can see that there with like one decimal, 2 decimals. So there's some gems in here. You just gotta look for them. And like dollar amounts, and like that's where I'm not sure what currency that is, or like the dollar. I don't know why you want the dollar sign after the number. I don't know. But yeah, there's some stuff in here that you can look at. But one of the cool things is that they have a copy ease feature inside AEJuice, which is very handy. I'll show you how that works. So say if you have, I'll just draw some shapes here to demo it. Let's say we have this circle, in this circle. And you animate maybe this one. We'll start 0, go up to maybe 90, and maybe have this one, and we'll scale it up to maybe 80. And you have this one, we'll scale this up to maybe 50. And you're like, okay, maybe this, I want ease in. So you go inside the graph editor, or actually you'll right click, you'll go to keyframe assistance, ease in, and maybe go in here and you get your animation just right. So now you have that, but maybe you want to copy this ease to the other keyframes. Obviously you can't just copy the scale parameter because they're different values. This one's going up to 90, 80, 50. But what's nice is they have a copy ease function. And hopefully it works. Sometimes when I use it, it doesn't work. But essentially what you can do is just copy this ease. And it's copying the actual ease of the keyframe. And if you click on this one and you click, wait, did I copy? Click on this, copy. It should copy and paste the ease. We'll see if it works. And then same with this one, you can paste the ease. And now when you play it back, it added that ease to those keyframes, even though the actual parameter are, they're different values. This is 50, 80, 90. It still adds the same amount of ease to those keyframes. So that can be helpful for, copying and pasting ease. If we go inside the graph editor, you can see it's the same, or pretty much the same type of velocity when it applies the same ease. So if you guys are having issues copying ease, that's a nice tool that AEJuice has to copy and paste ease. And then similarly, AEJuice Shifter works in the same way as the Mr. Horse Animation Composer. You have to actually click on the layers. So say if you wanted these, at a certain point, you can just select them. You want these to start at 3 seconds. You can click in, or you can also click out. So if you want them to finish at a certain time, you can go to 8 seconds, click out, and it'll actually shift the end of the layer to 8 seconds. So that's how the in and out align work. Go back to the beginning. Now the in, shift in and out here, this actually, it's a weird tool. I don't really use it, but it reminds me of like the slip and slide tool inside Premiere Pro. It basically slips and slides. It doesn't move the keyframes, but it moves the layer itself. So this might be helpful for video footage or certain situations. I haven't really used it that much, but I'll just undo that. It says snaps. I guess it doesn't matter because it's just a shape layer. But that's how that works. And then stagger, same way. There we go. Trying to reset my layers here so I can show you stagger. So you can stagger the animations or these layers as well. So say you can change it to 12 frames. You can click stagger and it'll stagger them. Now what's nice about the stagger in this one compared to Mr. Horse, it actually shows you visually how it's going to look, where before you have to actually know what ascending and descending means, and sometimes I don't know what that means. So this is nice, like, okay, like bottom first going up like that. That's nice, very helpful. And then like these custom ones or weird ones, sometimes you want to do like the middle first and then the sides. So that can be very helpful to stagger your layers. But that's how the shifter works inside the AEJuice shifter tool. So AEJuice Worth noting, some things in here that are, Mr. Horse doesn't have, but if you wanted just one or the other, I'd probably just get Animation Composer. But, AEJuice has some things in it that Animation Composer doesn't have, so it's just something to consider. And that's why I just wanted to go over both, that way you can, see the differences and stuff. So, but yeah, those are those two tools. Next, we're going to look at a pretty cool free script file for text layers. And if you ever animated text layers before and you wanted to actually, separate the actual individual characters, this actually does it for you. So it's a pretty cool tool that I'll cover here and show you how it works. I'm just going to delete these. This tool is called DecomposeText. It's available on AEScripts, and also if you've been following along, the link is down in the video description if you do want to check it out. Now you can name your own price. If you actually do want to donate and pay for it, you can add in your custom price, and you can go to add cart and then check out through there, but you can put in $0 and just download it, or if you want to be nice, you can donate. All right, let's see how it works inside After Effects. So I'm going to actually expand my menu here, grab my text. I'll just add some text here just to show you how it works. Do something more, something a little thinner. I don't know why After Effects want to do black. Here we go. All right, so we have our text. We're just going to align this here. And once you install it, or once you paste it, it should actually show where you want to go with it. Inside After Effects, you actually want to paste it inside here. So once you download the script file, you actually want to add it in here. And this essentially adds it to, and it will actually show up inside After Effects. So inside After Effects, where you want to go is Window, and then you'll see Decompose Text. If you scroll all the way down, these are the custom JSX files. So you can click Decompose Text, and then you have a few options here. You can decompose characters, words, or lines. Words and lines, obviously, if you have paragraphs of text and you actually want to see how to actually break up by lines and words. But for this case, since I only have a very simple text layer, I'm just going to do characters, and then I usually check the box next to original position using expressions. And then you click Decompose, and then you can actually see what happened here. You'll get individual text layers of the individual characters, and it essentially hides the original text layer just in case you want it underneath everything else. But you can see now we have each individual text character separate, so we can animate them separately. If you wanted to do really customized stuff, you can now do that inside After Effects. So that's something I use once in a while if I really want to fine-tune, the different letters and do different things with the different characters. Or you can also do the words and lines as well. So that's just a very handy free tool that you can use inside After Effects. All right, so we're ending the stream with probably one of my favorites. It's probably the most flashy free plugin. And it's a very popular one by Video Copilot. It's called Saber. You can use Saber in a lot of different ways, inside After Effects. I'm going to show you just a few of the ways that I used it last year in a few projects. And also, if you follow my tutorials, you will see once in a while I'll use Saber in different motion graphics and different projects. So next, I'm going to show you Saber. Share my screen. All right, so Video Copilot's website here, it's linked down in the video description. It's available in the blog. They also, Andrew Kramer has an actual dedicated tutorial on his website where he shows exactly how to use it. So if you might just watch that video, to be honest, but I'm just going to show you how I use it. But if you scroll down, you can click download for Apple, download for Windows. You should be ready to go. So inside After Effects, to get to it, what I'm going to do is actually delete these characters. We'll just unhide text layer here. To get to it, it'll be under Effect, and then you'll want to go to Video Copilot Saber, or you can just use his effects console and type in Saber here. So you're using two Video Copilot plugins at the same time. And then it will add it to effects controls. Now you'll notice that nothing appears though, but what you want to do is actually go under Customize Core. You can actually change it to text layer. I can't remember, does it? It's not working. Oh, there it is. Huh, it does not want to work today. Here, let me try adding it to a solid. All right, there it is. I think in the past I usually add it to a solid and then I add a text layer and then change it to, they might have to be separate layers. But essentially it adds a glow and then you can customize it. There's a lot of different presets in here that you can choose from to actually, change the different glow and the different spread and stuff. So, but what you can do is you can actually add it to a layer. So let's choose text. There it is. So once you change it to the other layer, the text layer, it'll add it to it. So it might have to be its own layer. If you hide the text layer, then you get like a cool outline effect that you can play with, which is pretty cool. And what I like to do sometimes is change like the end size or the start size. And then you can animate it and it kind of looks like it's kind of animating on and off. So for example, here you can do 0. And then mask evolution will actually animate it. So you can maybe make a keyframe next to mask evolution, go forward, maybe do 10 revolutions. This kind of like animates around the text outline, which is a pretty cool effect. You can use this in different ways. Now, one important note about Saber is you can also do it with masks. So for example here, I'm just going to reset this. Say if you maybe did like a new solid, we'll do mask. That's not how you spell mask. Mask. And then maybe you grab your pen tool, you can draw like a custom mask or whatnot. It doesn't necessarily have to be closed. What we can do is go back to the Saber layer and actually choose mask. And I think maybe this one, it has to actually be on. Maybe it doesn't work. I'm not sure. I used it before and it did it. Oh, now it's not on there at all. Interesting. Here, let me reset it. I'm going to draw a mask. Okay, new solid. Saber. Yeah, I want to say it has to be on the actual same solid. Mask. There it is. So the actual mask has to be on the same solid. The text layer can be on a separate layer. So there it is. So, you can actually create a mask and then apply that effect to a mask, which can be helpful. I did make a like a shooting star tutorial and like a masking tutorial a few months ago. I did that like effect into it. One other important note, say if you wanted to actually like export this with transparency, you do have to change the default setting under render settings. You'll notice that there's a composite settings drop down. You can actually go to transparent. And then that way, if you toggle your transparency grid, you'll see through it. So if you actually wanted to animate, maybe put it over something, that's where you go to change that. But that's Saber. You can use it in a lot of different ways. I would recommend, watching other people's tutorials as well to see how to use it. But, it is a blessing that it's available for free, because they could probably charge hundreds of dollars for something like this. But yeah, that's Saber. I use it a lot in different scenarios, especially for like neon graphics and stuff. So that's a very helpful plugin to use to add to your arsenal. But that pretty much sums up this live stream. Let me know, which one did you like the best out of the 5 that I covered in this live stream? Feel free to leave your comments down below. And thank you guys so much for watching this month. And take care and happy video creating.